In light of the rights and privileges afforded to the company in this agreement, the company shall disburse $28 million in cash to KL2, which represents Kawhi. This amount shall be divided into annual payments of $7 million throughout the duration of the contract. Among the signatures collected are those of Kawhi Leonard and Andre Charney, the CEO. Recently, Kawhi Leonard was found guilty of participating in a $28 million fraudulent scheme, a scandal that threatens to tarnish his entire reputation. The unassuming star crumbled under the burden of the ruling, leaving supporters in disbelief and the league in turmoil. Yet the pressing inquiry remains. Who else was aware of the arrangement, and could more names emerge? The scandal unfolds, with protests, probes, and a shaken league. The revelation that would transform our perception of Kawhi Leonard originated not on the hardwood, but from the dry text of a bankruptcy document. When Aspiration, the eco-friendly venture that vowed to reforest and heal the planet, declared Chapter 11 in March 2025, sharp-eyed investigators uncovered details that would ripple through the NBA. Among the creditors was an entry that appeared harmless at first glance. KL2 Aspire LLC was owed $7 million by the insolvent firm. The manager named wasn't just anyone. It was none other than Kawhi Leonard himself. With his glasses perched on his nose, David is examining a bankruptcy document, a roster of creditors. These are the entities to which Aspiration, amidst all their electrolyte deception, remains deeply in debt. Well, I've observed aligns with what David is currently realizing. At the top of the creditor list, just above the Boston Red Sox, sits an LLC. This small enterprise is owed $7 million by Aspiration. And the name of that LLC, David, is KL2 Aspire LLC. However, this is merely scratching the surface. The next revelation by investigative journalist Pablo Torre would shake the core of professional athletics. After conducting thorough interviews with 7 ex-employees of a firm called Aspiration and obtaining signed contract papers, Torre disclosed that Leonard had entered into a jaw-dropping $28 million endorsement agreement with the organization. The most incriminating information? Leonard seemingly did almost nothing to earn this enormous payout. The critical evidence originated from within the finance department at Aspiration, where staff were clearly instructed that this deal was no ordinary endorsement arrangement. It was a clever evasion of the salary cap masked as a valid enterprise. The nonchalant manner in which this deception was communicated within the organization, punctuated by LOL responses, exposed the audacity of the plot that would eventually topple both the firm and likely Leonard's professional trajectory. Did you ever find evidence of Kawhi Leonard promoting or backing Aspiration in any form? Not all, not even once. The largest payment ever made to an individual for marketing that Aspiration went completely unnoticed by the media. It's truly astonishing and presented a significant challenge for our marketing team. Their mission is to drive aspirations to email, yet they fail to grasp why the largest chunk of their budget has been ineffective. The involvement of Clips owner Steve Ballmer made the situation even more volatile. Just weeks prior to Leonard's contract extension with the Clippers, Ballmer poured $50 million of his own dollars into Aspiration. The timeline was dubious enough to trigger immediate concerns regarding possible salary cap violations, an infraction that may lead to hefty repercussions such as significant fines, disciplinary action, and potential contract nullification. The NBA reacted quickly and with determination. The organization promptly engaged the renowned law firm Wachtell Lipton, Rosen & Katz, the very firm that oversaw the inquiry into Donald Sterling, to carry out an in-depth investigation into the claims. This was far from a routine inquiry. It was the kind of intense legal examination usually assigned to the gravest breaches of league regulations. Christine from the NBA informed me that an investigation is currently in progress, which will definitely include interviews with crucial individuals related to both the Clippers and the league itself. The core aim is to find solid evidence, a possible paper trail, to determine if any salary cap violations occurred. The implications are immense. Historical context from the Joe Smith scandal involving the Minnesota Timberwolves in 2000 indicated that confirmed salary cap violations could lead to the forfeiture of 5 first-round draft choices, hefty fines, and sanctions against team executives. For a franchise like the Clippers, which has committed heavily to creating a roster centered around Leonard and Paul George, such repercussions could be disastrous. Steve Ballmer's reaction to the accusations was an exemplary display of damage control, combined with genuine surprise. In a private discussion with ESPN's Ramona Shelburne, the owner of the Clippers strongly rejected any accusations of misconduct, expressing that he felt deceived by the Aspiration's leadership. Honestly, any theories would be absurd. These individuals engaged in fraud. How could I possibly? Honestly, they duped me. Ballmer's argument rested on several critical aspects that cast him in the role of a victim rather than an offender. He pointed out that his investment in Aspiration was made without any awareness of Leonard's arrangement, stressing that despite pouring $50 million into the venture, he had no authority over the company. He noted that the Clippers only introduced Leonard to Aspiration after their agreements had been finalized. The billionaire owner's sense of betrayal was evident as he expressed his disillusionment with a firm he had relied upon for his environmental projects and philanthropic efforts. The most incriminating detail about Leonard's contract emerged from its unique design. Unlike standard endorsement contracts requiring actual engagement, Leonard's deal was meticulously crafted to enable him to remain inactive while still reaping millions. The agreement contained clear provisions that permitted him to refuse any actions that contradicted his personal values, a term intentionally left vague that created a loophole vast enough to drive a truck through. There was no obligation to act. Each KPI had an escape clause. Thus, they weren't genuinely key performers in the KPIs. It was simply a matter of feeling that a request didn't resonate with you, was an excessive demand, or perhaps you preferred not to share on social media, or were specific gear. Just inform us, or better yet, do nothing at all. The Clippers franchise released a strong rebuttal, clearly asserting that neither Mr. Ballmer nor the team bypassed the salary cap or partook in any unethical behavior regarding aspirations. Any opposing claim is demonstrably untrue. However, in the public's perception, these assertions faced considerable doubt and close examination. The basketball community reacted quickly and was split in its opinions. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith offered some of the harshest criticism, labeling Leonard as the least impressive superstar he had encountered in sports, not due to his skills on the court, but because of what he sees as a failure to adequately promote his team and the league. That said, let me share what truly resonates with me and why I mentioned, believe it or not. There is some truth to this, as there's a line here indicating that the agreement was with the Kawhi Leonard's firm K1 or KL2 Aspire LLC, featuring stipulations that permitted Leonard to remain idle, yet still receive payments. The response from fellow NBA players was notably restrained, with the Indiana Pacers' Tyrese Halliburton only making a quip about wanting a similar no-work position. The lack of reaction from Leonard's teammates underscored the gravity of the allegations and their possible consequences for the league overall. Most concerning of all was the disclosure that Aspiration's co-founder Joe Smith had confessed to charges of wire fraud, acknowledging he defrauded investors and lenders out of more than $248 million through deceptive assertions regarding the company's assets and practices. This confession cast further doubt on Leonard's arrangement, stirring speculation about his possible involvement in the deceit or if he merely benefited from a tainted setup. Leonard faced overwhelming financial consequences personally. His net worth, estimated at $120 million, stemmed mainly from NBA contracts and sponsorships. The potential repercussions and harm to his reputation could drastically reduce his earning capacity. Brands and partners might shy away from working with an athlete caught up in a severe fraud probe. The most surprising element of the whole situation was the audacity with which it breached the core principle that endorsement agreements demand genuine endorsement. Internal files disclosed that the marketing team at Aspirations was disheartened by their lack of engagement with Leonard, despite compensating him more than the sum of all their other celebrity endorsers. The company dubbed their coalition the Celebrity Avengers of Climate Activism, featuring icons such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Drake, and Robert Downey Jr., all of whom actively advocated for the brand. Leonard, however, remained conspicuously quiet, cashing checks that totaled into millions without contributing at all. As the investigation advanced, increasingly troubling revelations came to light regarding Leonard's ties to Aspirations and a history of contentious agreements that had shadowed his career. The basketball community observed anxiously as one of its premier talents encountered the potential for harsh penalties that could irreparably stain his reputation and jeopardize a future enshrined in the Hall of Fame. The connection between Steve Ballmer and Kawhi Leonard has often been depicted as a synergy between a savvy entrepreneur and a top-tier player. However, the Aspirations scandal unearthed a narrative that is not only intricate, but possibly troubling. Their alliance took shape during Leonard's much-followed free agency in 2019, when Ballmer's zealous pursuit played a crucial role in drawing the star away from the championship-winning Toronto Raptors. What remained hidden from public view was that this partnership was marred by dubious financial deals and questionable choices, which would eventually culminate in an unprecedented scandal within the NBA. Controversy arose almost immediately following Leonard's arrival with the Clippers. In December 2019, the NBA initiated an inquiry into tampering claims tied to Leonard's recruitment, particularly scrutinizing the request from his uncle and advisor, Dennis Robertson. The scope of these allegations was striking, depicting a player and his team who regarded NBA regulations as optional rather than obligatory. As per findings from that inquiry, Robertson had reached out to numerous teams during Leonard's free agency with demands that exceeded standard contract discussions. The Lakers, for instance, were allegedly asked to offer Leonard a lavish home, unrestricted private jet access, and guaranteed endorsement opportunities. In a surprising turn of events, Robertson reportedly sought partial equity in various teams, making a bold request for a share in the Toronto Maple Leafs during talks with the Raptors. Kawhi made a similar demand regarding the Maple Leafs. Can you believe the audacity of that request? I want some stake in a hockey team, too. The behind-the-scenes details of the Aspiration agreement indicated a level of collaboration between Ballmer and Leonard that was anything but coincidental. Internal correspondence acquired by investigators revealed Ballmer's direct involvement in linking Aspire executives with various business partners, highlighting his engaged role in the firm's operations. The sequence of events is especially incriminating. Ballmer's $50 million investment, the substantial sponsorship agreement for the Clippers, and Leonard's formation of his KL2 Aspire LLC coincided within a few months in late 2021. Moreover, on November 1st, 2021, Ballmer sent an email that personally introduced Intuit's CEO to Andre and Joe, expressing admiration for Intuit's dedication to sustainability and their strategic partnership with the Clippers. Go Clippers' emphatic statement. Just under a month following that discussion, 3 months after the contract was extended, Kawhi Leonard at Uncle Dennis established KL2 Aspire LLC. The troubling aspect of this setup was the utter absence of effort Leonard contributed for his hefty compensation, as extensive investigations into social media, promotional content, and public events indicated. There appears to be almost no proof of Leonard endorsing any aspirations, products, or services. This was in sharp contrast to other celebrity figures like Drake, Robert Downey Jr., and even his own coach Doc Rivers, who enthusiastically endorsed the brand. The financial terms of Leonard's contract also raised concerns about possible salary cap evasion. A significant clause within the contract made clear the arrangement's true nature. It would automatically end if Leonard ceased to be an employee of the Clippers. This clause essentially linked the endorsement funds to his ongoing role with Ballmer's squad, which is precisely what NBA salary cap regulations aim to avoid. It's referred to as termination. It raises the question of when an agreement can be dissolved. In what circumstances can the organization decide, "We're not compensating you anymore"? Typically, there are clauses in place that allow for termination if one is a felon or if there's a felony conviction. Occasionally, even an arrest for a felony could lead to this outcome. Any actions that damage the company's reputation or create negativity can also lead to termination. This is specifically a termination for cause, which is relevant to the endorsement agreement. This situation directly impacts his $28 million endorsement contract. Dismissal for cause occurs if Leonard is no longer part of the team under any circumstances, with the team in question being the Clippers. Indeed, Ballmer's professional background offers insight into how these agreements could have come to pass. As CEO of Microsoft, Ballmer implemented bold tax avoidance tactics that shifted vast sums of profit to foreign tax shelters, culminating in a $28.9 billion tax claim from the IRS. Although these tactics complied with the law, they illustrated a trend of exploiting regulatory loopholes for financial gain. The ownership of the Clippers had transformed into a significant source of tax advantages, with Ballmer reporting a staggering $700 million in tax losses from 2014 to 2018, even while the franchise was generating profits. This bold strategy for tax management indicated that discovering innovative methods to navigate financial regulations was a routine part of Ballmer's corporate framework. The most alarming insight arose from internal Aspiration communications, which unveiled the company's financial struggles and highlighted the importance placed on ensuring Leonard's payments were on time. Despite facing challenges in meeting essential obligations and satisfying other creditors, Leonard's uncle, Dennis Robertson, frequently pressed for payment, and it was evident to company executives that keeping Leonard satisfied was vital for their relationship with both Ballmer and the Clippers. Regular meetings were held to discuss the payment schedules, with Kawhi Leonard's contract always prioritized for payment. Despite the company's severe financial difficulties, what was the reason behind this? We received various explanations, one of which was a call from Kawhi Leonard. "Hold on, let me clarify. This was Uncle Dennis." "Yes, Uncle Dennis." Uncle Dennis was on the line, and he insisted on payment. It ranked as the foremost concern. This was a task that could not be overlooked and was vital for our rapport with Ballmer and the Clippers. Weekly discussions focused on compensation schedules, and throughout those assemblies, Kawhi Leonard's pay was invariably prioritized, despite the company's severe financial straits. The rationale? Numerous explanations were provided, one notably being that Kawhi Leonard was making the calls. Hold on, that was Uncle Dennis on the line." Uncle Dennis was reaching out, and he insisted on payment. This was top of the list. It was essential to maintain our connections with Ballmer and the Clippers. Leonard's financial past showed a consistent trend of pursuing every conceivable advantage and benefit, no matter how it might look to league officials or the general public. His history of strategic rest and absenteeism, coupled with his full pay, had sparked tension among supporters and league executives. The Aspiration agreements appeared to epitomize this approach, enhancing earnings while reducing genuine player commitments. Furthermore, the dynamic between Leonard and Ballmer underscored larger concerns regarding NBA management and regulation. The salary cap regulations aim to ensure fair competition, yet affluent owners like Ballmer had cleverly devised methods to offer extra perks to athletes through inventive business deals. The Aspiration controversy posed a risk of revealing fundamental flaws within the NBA's oversight system. Perhaps the most significant blow came from the disclosure that both Leonard and Ballmer had persisted in their business ties, even as the fraudulent activities of Aspiration became evident. In 2023, the Clippers terminated their sponsorship with the firm after Aspiration defaulted on payments. Yet Leonard's personal endorsement deal remained active until the company's eventual bankruptcy. This indicated a troubling failure in due diligence or a readiness to ignore clear red flags in pursuit of profits. The investigation also uncovered how deeply Leonard's close associates, especially his uncle Dennis Robertson, were engaged in crafting these contentious arrangements. Robertson's history of making bold demands in contract discussions, alongside his involvement in the Aspiration deal, illustrated a support network primarily focused on maximizing financial gain, irrespective of ethical or legal implications. As information unfolded regarding the Leonard-Ballmer connection and the intricate financial dealings entwined with it, the basketball community started to realize that the Aspiration controversy was not merely a singular event, but a logical outcome of a collaboration focused on pushing limits and taking advantage of gaps. The issue shifted from questioning the occurrence of violations to evaluating their magnitude and the impending repercussions. With a legacy tarnished, a basketball icon faced downfall. The upheaval surrounding Kawhi Leonard and the $28 million Aspiration deal signified far more than just another sports figure embroiled in a financial scandal. It represented a dramatic unraveling of meticulously crafted public images and the obliteration of legacies painstakingly built over many years. For Leonard, a player known for his understated professionalism and unwavering commitment to basketball, the allegations challenged the essence of his identity as an athlete and a public persona. His basketball legacy was crafted from moments of exquisite brilliance that exceeded the sport itself. The stunning 2019 championship run with the Toronto Raptors, highlighted by a Game 7 buzzer beater that bounced 4 times before sinking, was celebrated as one of the most remarkable playoff performances in NBA history. His 2 Finals MVP awards earned with different franchises positioned him alongside icons like LeBron James and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. His defensive mastery, underscored by 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards and 7 All-Defensive Team selections, solidified his status as a premier two-way player of his era. However, the Aspiration scandal loomed large, threatening to eclipse these achievements and transforming a Hall of Fame career into a cautionary narrative of greed and moral compromise. The accusations portrayed Leonard as an individual eager to pocket millions without lifting a finger, starkly opposing the persona of a committed athlete who was believed to have achieved success solely through diligence and skill. The disparity between his remarkable performance on the court and the questionable behavior off, it led to a mental conflict that fans and journalists found hard to align. Stephen A. Smith's harsh critique resonated with countless members of the basketball world who felt let down by Leonard's purported misdeeds. Had it been LeBron, Steph, or another star, such revelations would have been widely publicized. Why? Because to suggest they might receive payment for idleness is unthinkable. They are league ambassadors, fulfilling their obligations to the team on and off the court, ensuring no one perceives them that way. However, with Kawhi Leonard, known for his frequent absences, the most shocking insight into his character emerged from the contract details. It disclosed that he had secured the privilege to do virtually nothing while still earning substantial sums. This bold arrangement, coupled with Leonard's pattern of sitting out games and sidestepping promotional duties, painted him as someone who has exploited his talent to gain maximum rewards with minimal effort. Put simply, the calm Leonard secured a $28 million position without having to appear. It's truly remarkable. Really, Sir Envious. Sir Envious? I mean, he's living the dream. Honestly, I believe I could also earn $28 million while doing absolutely nothing at all. Leonard's marketability and commercial allure faced swift and severe repercussions. Prominent sponsors and endorsement allies started to withdraw from the fallout, and his lifetime agreement with New Balance came under investigation as corporate entities reconsidered their connections with an athlete potentially facing federal fraud allegations. The lucrative business of being Kawhi Leonard, which had amassed hundreds of millions throughout his career, now confronted a precarious future. For Steve Ballmer, the controversy posed a multifaceted challenge to his legacy. As one of the globe's richest people, boasting a net worth surpassing $130 billion, Ballmer had established himself as a transformative force in the realm of professional sports ownership. Acquiring the Clippers for $2 billion in 2014 was celebrated as a fresh chapter for a team long linked to chaos and defeat. His initiative to construct a privately financed $2 billion stadium showcased his passion for transforming the team and enhancing the Los Angeles sports scene overall. Ballmer's heartfelt reaction during his ESPN interview highlighted the emotional impact of the scandal on him and his aspirations for the team. Since bringing on Kawhi, and even tracing back to his time in San Antonio, similar narratives have emerged. A few lawsuits have also been initiated. A lawsuit was initiated by Manning Johnny Wilkes, claiming he received compensation for his influence in matter. However, the ensuing investigation threatened to tarnish Ballmer's accomplishments, casting his tenure as merely a string of dubious financial deals intended to bypass league regulations. His history of aggressive tax strategies during his time at Microsoft, highlighted by the $28.9 billion IRS conflict over offshore profit shifting, further illustrated his potential stance towards compliance with regulations. The image that surfaced portrayed a billionaire owner who perceived rules as hurdles to navigate rather than standards to honor. The wider ramifications for the NBA as an entity were equally concerning. For years, the league worked hard to cultivate its image as a well-managed entity that prioritized fair play and equitable competition. The salary cap, designed to stop affluent owners from effortlessly acquiring titles, was crucial for maintaining the league's integrity and fan enthusiasm. Should owners find ways to bypass these regulations through clever financial tactics, the essence of competitive equity would be at risk. Current NBA athletes, like Patrick Beverley, grappled with the ramifications of the scandal, recognizing its gravity while still expressing personal loyalty to Leonard. He's our closest ally at this moment. I tend to be somewhat zealous. The inquiry further illuminated concerns regarding the NBA's ability to oversee and regulate its leading personalities. The reality that the Aspiration arrangement functioned undetected for such a long time indicates either notable deficiencies in the league's surveillance mechanisms or an unwillingness to scrutinize influential owners and star athletes too closely. The ramifications of the scandal reached beyond the court, sparking wider discussions surrounding affluence, entitlement, and responsibility within American culture. Leonard and Ballmer's purported scheme exemplified the kind of conduct that stoked public outrage over disparities and dishonesty among the affluent elite. The notion that a billionaire owner and a millionaire athlete would jeopardize their reputations and careers for extra money they didn't require seemed to many as a reflection of a larger societal issue. The possible repercussions for both Leonard and the Clippers organization were serious enough to dramatically reshape the franchise's future for years. The past case involving Joe Smith of the Minnesota Timberwolves illustrated that confirmed salary cap breaches could lead to the loss of several first-round draft picks, hefty fines, and suspensions for team personnel. For a team that had already sacrificed much of its future to bring Leonard and Paul George on board, such consequences could be disastrous. Perhaps the most tragic element of the entire scandal was the personal impact on Leonard. Throughout his career, he was known as a reserved athlete, allowing his achievements to speak for themselves, a cornerstone of his public persona. However, the recent allegations have shifted this image of humility and dedication to one that now seems premeditated and possibly deceitful. Supporters who once relished in his championship victories and decisive plays now ponder if his triumphs on the court were underpinned by unethical actions off it. This disparity between Leonard's outward demeanor and his alleged private conduct has sparked feelings of betrayal among fans emotionally tied to his journey. The stealthy assassin aura that set him apart in a time dominated by social media athlete personas now appears more like a deliberate ploy to evade criticism than an expression of genuine character. The ramifications for Leonard's Hall of Fame bid and his place in history were too significant to overlook, even if his achievements on the court still merited recognition. Controversy would always taint his narrative, much like how doping accusations marred the legacies of past baseball icons. Any future evaluations of his career would unavoidably come with caveats regarding his character and ethics. Similarly, for Ballmer, the toll on his reputation as a leader in sports ownership was profound. His ambition to reshape the Clippers into a premier franchise through substantial investments in infrastructure and talent had been jeopardized by claims of widespread rule violations. The concern shifted from whether he could assemble a title-winning team to whether he could retain control over the franchise amid potential severe sanctions. The inquiry also revealed the weaknesses of self-regulation in professional sports. The NBA's dependence on the good faith of its owners and players was shown to be inadequate when vast sums of money and competitive edges were involved. The league would probably need to adopt more rigorous oversight and enforcement measures to avert future malpractices. As the investigation persisted and additional information surfaced regarding the extent and duration of the alleged fraudulent activities, the basketball community started to confront the unsettling reality that one of its most revered figures might have deeply undermined the integrity of the sport they professed to cherish. The impact of Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer will always be measured not by their successes, but by their supposed readiness to give up everything for wealth they already possessed and perks they had no right to pursue. We appreciate your viewership. If you like this video, tap on one of the boxes appearing on your screen for more related content.